There we go. Now you can hear me. Hey, this is Catherine, the Big Vision Coach, and welcome to this special presentation. Last week, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I have links in the comments where I shared the story about my sister Sandy and how she manifested over $150,000 in 24 hours. And since telling you that story, more has happened, and just more good things keep happening and happening, one kind of on top of another. And I just want you to know that, number one, thank you so much for your prayers and your support. I first mentioned this in the group on Tuesday, and then it was like the next day. Right. So I'd gone to her on Sunday. We did the work. Monday, already things were okay. Maybe it's not so bad. She had a conversation with the VA. By Tuesday, she had a conversation with the insurance company, and everything turned around. So I got to report within hours of commanding with the group in the virtual Commanding Well Circle. Hey, this is what we need. Thank you for your support. Then more things started happening. So I told the story about that, and let me get over here right quick and just kind of explain what I'm talking about. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I am a success breakthrough coach, and I've been doing this business for a long time, and I work with a process called the One Command that is based on the work of Asara Lovejoy, who wrote a book by that name. And every week in the TOC Money Mindset Mastery group, and you can also find on YouTube where I host a free circle each and every week, in addition to my private coaching and the classes that I teach around this method to help people manifest the desire, their desired life. And a big part of that does include helping with belief work and giving them the skills to access their own greater intelligence. So I help people in that development. And the original presentation, and like I said, I have the link in the comment, the original presentation where I just kind of laid out the whole story is in the comments. So, but I also have it in the YouTube description. And if you have the PDF of this, you can actually click on the link below. And in the story, I outlined these steps, and I'm going to go over them with you very quickly. But first, I just want to recap the story a bit and what happened, and, why am I talking to you about this? What were the results? And then I started offering people, hey, let me walk you through this process. Let me kind of take you through this. So very, very briefly, my sister Sandy was married for many years to a man, 34 years, was married to a man that had a really great job as an electrician, worked with the union, worked on nuclear power plants and all the great big construction projects. And he always made really good money, but they struggled financially for a long time. And that had a lot to do with his own sense of worthiness. He was always in this panic mode and always kind of trying to get the easy fix, trying to get the thing. And if I could just get this and I could have that, then I can feel this, right? He was always in that kind of backward spin. And a lot of people go through that. And as a result, they struggled. A lot of his jobs caused him he had to travel, which meant that was an added expense on the family. That was added pressure on my sister. They were always recovering from the times between work and the getting started on the new job. And no matter how much money they made, there was just never enough. I'm going to give you a little hint about that. If you have had that experience in your life that, hey, no matter what you do, right, you go, oh my gosh, I've manifested this big bunch of money, or I worked my butt off and look at all this I created. And then soon it's like you can't get rid of it fast enough. It's because you don't feel worthy of it. You don't feel like it's really yours. Okay. You're not really seeing yourself as the person that deserved it. Okay. You're seeing yourself as unworthy or at some level unwanted. And this pattern was set up in their whole life. Okay. Fast forward to about 8 years ago, David started getting really sick and was not able to work. They were just barely able to kind of keep things together, doing little odds and ends jobs. And then he had some disability kick in, but just could not get really anything together. They were living in an area that weird things kept happening, that they couldn't seem to see a doctor or get into the right doctor, or files would disappear. It just was a really bizarre 2 or 3 years. And they finally were able to get themselves situated that they could get back from where they were in Northern California, way the heck up in the mountains, super isolated, to back home to Texas, into a small town where it was really affordable living, where his disability and some of his annuity money that had finally all kicked in could take care of them quite well. But then, even with that, on paper, there should have been no reason that they weren't having more than enough. They are not extravagant people by any stretch of the imagination. Their biggest expense, honestly, smoking cigarettes. That's the big expense. Everything else, they're perfectly happy to go to Walmart and buy stuff on sale, or buy this or that. But David would kind of do this thing where he'd buy cars. But the other thing David spent a lot of money on was lottery tickets and payday loans and all of this. So again, always digging up out of a hole, always digging, always having to repay a loan back, always having to fix some big financial blunder that was completely preventable. And at the same time, David was a colorful person, and he exaggerated a lot, to the point, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, he straight up would just lie about bizarre things. And he claimed to have some things set up. He claimed to have money. He claimed to have a lot of accounts. And we tell my sister's like, oh, no, we don't, honey. Right? And so she just was always in so much overwhelm. She really could not deal with really finding out what is the truth about their financial situation. She just was always sabotaged, and you kind of get in this paradigm, and they were just kind of in this insanity. You have to excuse me. I'm in North Texas right now. It's in the 70s, and we have windows open in the house, so you may hear some outside noises. Okay, but so we get in this survival mode, and this creates this really small sphere of influence. And what we wind up doing is we push down what we really want or need. We push down what we really think or feeling. We repress it. And then we start going into survival mode, where we're let me just deal with what's in front of me. And then we're just trying to, what are tricks? What can we do? We're operating from this neediness. And this is where they had gotten into. And comes the day, the end of January, David passed away. And then finally, after going through all the clothes, going through everything, being flat broke, because it was time for the next check to arrive, and they were already broke, just kind of hanging on till payday, which many people are doing. And that with his passing, that stopped the payment on everything, right? And we're in a pandemic and working from home, and everything's kind of like just takes a little longer. And as Sandy's trying to make phone calls and find out what's real, what does she have, it turns out the main insurance policy was not paid on in November, and the window to make the payment had passed, and she was not able to make any payment on that. There was supposed to be another insurance policy. Can't find that. It's supposed to be this policy. Nothing. And she had me come over and had to start helping her go through all of the paperwork. And so we had to go through some steps. And in the presentation last week, I started taking people through what those actual steps were. So we started with facing the truth. And as we were doing that, what came up was there is no insurance. It looks like we don't know how to find were there issues with union dupes where she's calling the union halls where he'd worked. They're saying, we can't find him. There's no evidence. There's nothing. Everything was no, no, no. Okay. Now, I want to give you a little side bit here. When you are suddenly meeting a lot of no's in your world, when you're going, I want this, no, 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 no. A lot of times, this is a reflection of your own resistance, okay? This is what you're actually vibrating at, and that's what you're expecting, even though you need and you hope, you wish, right? And, we work with the incredible one command technique, but very often what people are doing is they're in this negative feedback loop. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, hey, how is, what's happening? What are we seeing? How do we redirect our thoughts? How do we really use the power of visualization, which is what I was able to do with Sandy, to turn this around? How do we get into our own authority? So that we are commanding and visualizing from this right internal position? Okay, because if you're needy, afraid, feeling powerless, or you're in victim mode, then everything that you see, what you're going to wind up seeing and experiencing in the world is everything that matches that. Even in your own thoughts, when you try to think and you try to come up with a solution, everything's going to come up that matches every solution, every thought, every scenario you picture, visualize, imagine is going to match that smaller, negative, low vibrational way of thinking, feeling, and being. And the first step with Sandy was, hey, let's get into this neutral space. Let's get into just, hey, analytical mind. Okay. Now, we both had experience having to deal with a lot of difficult things. And we both had professional experience coming in doing what we would call takeover in apartment industry, where we had to come in and say, what's what? We can let ourselves get overwhelmed or mad or frustrated. We had to really train ourselves to be in this neutral, just present to the moment and whatever's happening, and just accept it and not argue. Okay. Now this is key. And this is a big writer downer. You got to start. You got to tell the truth about where you are and how you got there. Now, sometimes the way that would look is if you're going, I don't know what's happening, I need money, but I'm not manifesting, I can't get a job, or I have my business isn't going anywhere. Well, you got to be able to be in that neutral space and look at your business and tell the truth to yourself, because in that truth, what do we say? The truth shall set you free. But then we've got to be able to be present, but then we've got to be able to take responsibility for how we got there, right? And we had a good reason for the choices that we made. Okay, you had a really good reason at the time. And maybe you didn't have the bandwidth. Maybe you did feel overwhelmed. Maybe there was a higher value that you were aligning to. And you just said, I'm not going to face this because I want there to be peace between us in a relationship. For Sandy, who's a very practical, she can be very practical, down to earth, and yet she's very intuitive, and she really loves exploring the outer edges of consciousness. And that's the nicest way I'm going to say that. But I'm probably a little more pragmatic, even though she would say I'm more intuitive than she is. I'm just more skilled in taking that information and communicating it. And so we're going to talk about have a way that I can communicate with myself, but also tap into myself and other people and use kind of like the power of my own emotions. I can't go into that too much, but I'm going to touch on it in this presentation. So I'm going to take you right through the exact steps of how to use your power of visualization and how to think about that. Okay. So when I was working with Sandy and we start going through these steps, first we face the truth. The second is you've got to make some room for magic. Now, when I'm, there's magical thinking like, oh, one day it'll all be gone, like magic. Well, you have to lose your mind a little bit. And the reason that I say make room for magic is this is the language of the unconscious mind. Now, if you think about a magician, and this is one of my favorite metaphors, and in tarot, they have the magician card. The magician is greatly skilled. He has strategies. He's so practiced, right, that his expectation and his actions start meeting very quickly. Okay, now we could talk about the magician and they're able to trick the mind. Well, we've got to trick our mind, our ordinary thinking mind. There goes one of the few airplanes, but it's a cloudy day. There we go. We kind of like lose our mind. We got to trick our ordinary mind. And we got to go into that magical realm because our subconscious mind communicates in symbols, in metaphor, in pictures, in stories. Okay. And we're always communicating to ourselves and to others through these means. If you think about it, letters are just symbols of a sound that represent, right? That is a symbol of a sound, of a representation, right? Of an intention that we're communicating. And so we're doing that with numbers. We're communicating with ourselves through these images all the time. So we're doing it intentional. Now, what I did was I asked permission to clear the energy in the apartment. Now, we had just gone through, here's the practical steps. Here's the stuff we have to do, right? Here's what we're dealing with. And it was really hard. And our ordinary brain was just overwhelmed. The emotions were trying to bubble up. But what we had to do was we're having to set this intention of, hey, we're going to raise the vibration and we are going to set the energy so that it supports us. Now, this is very important because Bruce Lipton talks about this, and so does Joe Dispenza and a lot of other great teachers, that as you start raising your vibration, you have a really clear intention, and you're having this powerful and empowering conversation with yourself and this, what we could call our greater intelligence, this greater force, right? This all that is space, is we're having this other conversation as it's aligning to its intention. What happens is your environment literally starts shifting to support it. Also, what's in your environment, what's around you, right now, there's help, there's resources, there's things available to you that you may not accept or even be able to see or be aware of because of your mindset, okay? Because you're operating from a lower vibration or frequency. Now, when we're talking about vibration and frequency, we are talking literally about levels of consciousness. And in the One Command world, we talk about these levels of consciousness as experienced through different brain waves. Okay, in our ordinary way of thinking, we're in what's called the beta brain. Okay, and I'm not going to go through all the chart on that, but it's really a lower. It's a little. Vibrationally, that's our ordinary way of thinking, but it's limited because it is has already been conditioned, and there's systems, habits, protocols. There's every way that's already been prepared to receive information, what meaning we're looking for, how does it match our reality, and then it's not going to really give us anything new unless it's really jarring, right? Like, hey, that's not supposed to be there. That's not ordinary, and then it kind of wakes you up. We're literally walking around in kind of a trance all the time. So that's a level of consciousness, and to operate there, we have to delete a ton of information. We have to distort the meaning of things, and we have to generalize an awful lot in order for us to function at this level. When we go into a lower brainwave, then we can start going into our imagination. We're kind of in that alpha brainwave. And alpha we're kind of familiar with, like we're visualizing and I'm going, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did this or that? Right. And the way to think about the alpha brainwave, you're more relaxed, it's a little more expanded, and you can see different scenarios. You can start to move yourself around your world a little bit. Okay. Now, I don't know if you ever saw the movie or the TV show from back in the early 90s called Quantum Leap. And Dr. Sam Beckett had the ability to jump into different people's lives, right? And he would get information about the people, and he might have some access to the muscle memory, and he could kind of adapt into the world. But he was always Sam inside somebody else's body in their reality, and he was learning how to pretend to be like other people, but he was never not himself. Now, this is how it is when we're in alpha. We are still attached to our core identity, and we are still operating within a realm of what we believe is possible or not possible. Like, for example, in the show Quantum Leap, Sam only jumped into lives that were in a span within his own time frame. I mean, if you really start thinking about that show, it's really quite advanced in teaching about levels of consciousness and how we're experiencing the world and how we're meeting ourselves and everything. And it was part of Sam's own growth. And so it is a really powerful and empowering exercise to put yourself in different situations, because as you're doing that, you are starting to expand your mind. And as you're going into these different roles and positions and you're pretending to do things, you're actually already starting to access a greater level of consciousness. Now, I've got all these great slides for you, but I just want to talk to you. Okay. So I'll be going back and forth. So the next level of consciousness is one that we're very familiar with, and that is we're going into the theta brainwave, and we're in this much lower brainwave. It's a bigger wave, and in this, we are actually more up in the observer. We're in this neutral space. We're detached from our emotions. We're detached from the cycles of our emotions, okay? But we're able to observe and understand our emotions. We're able to see the bigger picture. We're able to move around in different positions, and we're able to have greater empathy, where we're literally putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, and we're seeing from their perspective, but then we're able in this theta brainwave to access greater sphere of influence and a greater sphere of knowledge. Like if you need to know something, going up into the theta brainwave, and we do that in the one command through the 6-step process. And a big part of that is where we're rolling your eyes up and we're motor driving the brain through and motor driving it through the cycles of consciousness to lower the brainwave so that you can create this emotional pause. We can we can pause all of your conditioning of your mind, and we can just allow yourself to go into this observer mode and speak directly into the unconscious mind what it is you want. Okay, it's incredibly powerful. So we're going into these different levels of consciousness. Okay. So this is what we were doing. And so I made room for magic. I took my sister into, said, can I clear the energy on the apartment? Because one, we believe in energy, they believe in energy, and they felt it would be really, helpful to have someone just help to just move out the heaviness, the grief, all the excess energy, and just start bringing in light. And I have a particular process that I explained in the previous video where I do that, where I set protections and like, here's the intention for the space, and this is what we need to happen here. And as I was doing that, then I started, realizing, hey, there's some energy portals happening. So I'm going to talk about that. Then we started the healing, went through acceptance and gratitude for exactly what is. And we're going to talk about this in future calls. I did go through this a lot in the previous video. And then I taught them the fully and freely forgiveness process. And I also shared that in the last video. Then I went through my connection to guidance. We used the 6 steps to theta, and then I work with the pendulum. I'm going to demonstrate that. And then I had her go into her, stepping into her own worthiness and her authority to create in her life, because my sister Sandy, so I'm speaking about, but she had this long time of not really having ownership of her life, or like, hey, do I have the right to even ask? Do I have the right to have a happy life? Even though I screwed up all these years, I didn't leave him like everybody said, or I didn't fight, or I didn't go do this or that. She just kept trusting her guidance. She just kept trusting her heart. And at one point it was even like, the higher intention here was to love David and to show him that he could be loved unconditionally. And that was part of her path. So we got to really get into that space of, you created this. This was the higher intention. Now let's align to this higher intention for the next stage of your growth. Okay. So what do you need? What do you want? And then commanded for it. And then witnessed its fulfillment. Remember, and then I walked her through what I call the miracle mile. So let me keep going here, because I want to kind of walk you through here. So very often when we are at a crossroads, especially if we're struggling, if our energy is low, if we're feeling sad or down, it can feel very difficult. It feels like our choices are quite limited. It feels like this or that. And very often what happens? A confused mind says no. I just want to let you know. So if we get into confusion, and if we don't like either the choices, we'll either resist it or we'll get fearful. Then we try to game ourselves. We try to manipulate ourselves. And what actually happens is we get frozen and we start isolating. And then what we wind up doing is we are no longer having a conversation with our greater potential. We start having this conversation with ourselves. And very often those are conversations, those are things that are imprinted on you, that are usually things that you were told when you were a child. Oh, you weren't practical. You should have known better. Why'd you do it like that? And then we start isolating more and more. Now, I have to say, just transparency, that this can happen for a lot of reasons. It's not just a confused mind. We might have limited bandwidth. We might have health issues. Okay. We might have dealing with some mental health issues, and to where we're just don't really have the energy to even break through our own thinking, even if we're wanting to do positive, do meditation or visualization, or we're doing the one command. It's very hard sometimes to get outside of our own head and our own thinking, because we just don't have the energy. We just don't have the energy. So we'll start to conserve. Okay. And we'll start to kind of power down. If you've ever used your phone and it starts getting down at about that 20, 15%, what happens? Everything kind of starts shutting down and it puts you in survival mode. And then everything becomes about survival. And then, because your mind, there's this part of you, and maybe you've had success in the past. Maybe you see other people having successes and you go, why can't I be like that? What's wrong with me? Well, the good news about this is, if you can see other people experiencing more than what you are, there's a part of you that's saying, see, look at that. But if you're noticing, when you see that, you go, why can't I be like that? Why are they must be better than me. This is just a clue about what program or belief is up to be cleared. Okay. And so I'm going to show you some stuff here. Okay. But I have some good news. Wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, even if it's at rock bottom, and I have had the pleasure of being there more than once. I'll never forget being in a new business. I think it was my first business. And my intuition kept saying, oh, do this, 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 this. And then I'd be like, oh no, what if that? And I just was second guessing myself, and then doing all this extra stuff that really wasn't what needed to be done, because I'm in panic mode. And when you don't know what to do, the answer is either do nothing or do everything at once, right? And so the thing I was worried about finally came, and it turned out it did not work. Surprise, surprise. And it utter failure. And it was like, oh, what a relief. Now there's no place to go but up. I'll have to see if I can find the story to my chicken story, my famous chicken story. It was a relief. And to find out that at that bottom, I was still worthy of love, that there was still a greater possibility available, that I had just run out of everything that my ordinary mind had come up with. Okay. But here's the other thing. And I tell my clients this all the time, that very often when you've hit the wall, we judge ourselves like, oh no, I've done something wrong. It's bad. But unless you're moving forward, you're not going to hit a wall. You think about it, walls don't come flying at you. If you're moving forward and you hit the wall, please expect this, because you're breaking through a paradigm. You're breaking through habits and conditioning and a level of consciousness and being. You're breaking through a way that you've known yourself in the past. Okay. And you're saying, I want something new. And it's almost like a sound barrier. You've got to break through this sound barrier. And very often we fear that wall. But as we go through that wall, when you get through the other side of it, you go, I don't even know why I thought that was such a big deal. So this is why I celebrate, hitting walls and rock bottom and all of that, because I know that I'm moving forward. Okay. And so often people are afraid of these experiences, but please know and understand that very often we go through these experiences as part of conditioning and strengthening and helping us to keep realigning to what's really important. Okay. So the first thing we have to do, if we want to make a change, is we've got to break the negative feedback loop. Very often when we are in a challenging time, we need to manifest something. Hey, you might have a money need, a health need. You might go, you know what? I've got to get a car. I've got to make this happen or this happen. This wasn't unexpected. Oh no, here's a challenge. We call there was this gap, like where you are, where you want to be, and then we have the gap. And we talk about this gap a lot. Okay. But very often what people project into the gap is their doubts and fears. And what they're saying, oh no, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? I don't know how to do that. Oh no, I'm not like other people. Or what will people think? Or my family or my friends or my spouse or my health or this or the government or whatever. And we're putting in all of this stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with the outcome we desire. And so we wind up getting in this loop and we start coming back into ourselves. And that's a backward ways being. And that is a negative feedback loop. And then everything that we start looking for and the solutions start matching that. So we've got to break that. Okay. If you're noticing, oh yeah, I could do that. And then you realize, oh, I can't do it. It's too hard, or not today. Or suddenly you've got to clean your entire house, or your family kind of loses their mind and only you can deal with it. That's a reflection of your negative feedback loop in play. So the way we do this, we have to rise up in a higher level of thinking. In a lot of ways, the way that this is talked about is the intuitive mind. Hey, trust your guts, follow your instincts, right? Oh yeah, I'll just do that. But here's the difference. We have instincts, which our gut, this is our conditioning, okay? And it's all based on survival, okay? When we are afraid or anxious or we're panicked, a lot of times we'll try to get away from that feeling and we'll start just doing action. That was always my strategy. One, I'm just going to try to learn as much as possible. So I'm one of those people, next thing you know, I've got 50, internet tabs open and I've got all these notes and I've got all these steps and it's all complicated. And so my strategy is that, hey, when in doubt, do more, right? Which doesn't work. But the idea is that we're trying to do something and we think we're trying to cause something new to happen, but we're actually trying to get away from that feeling. Okay, we're trying to get away from the deeper feeling, but we're not tuning into the emotions. This deeper feeling is we're not necessarily able to verbalize it. We may not even be able to locate it. We don't quite know what it's about. We just know it doesn't feel good and we feel stuck. Okay. What we want to do is get moving up, getting our emotions moving, even if it's negative, even if we're crying, even if we're mad, even if we're yelling, so that we can start getting the information from that. And very often what we do in the one command, especially in the circles, is I'll have the group just like, hey guys, let's turn our heart lights on and let's just be present to this person. And just give them support while they're being present to whatever feelings in their body. And as they start being present to it, then the emotions come up. Then as the emotions come up, energy moving emotions. As that starts coming up, then the information, the energy gets unstuck. Okay. Then the information can start to arrive. Okay. When we're in our intuitive state, we are aligning to the answer that's already there. We're tuning our mind to what outcomes we desire, what solutions we need. Okay? We're tuning in. Now, one of the things about intuition and inspiration, you've heard me say this, that inspiration comes from the Greek where we're breath plus spirit, and that helps us take action. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, but there's two quotes from Einstein that I want to share. One, the intuitive mind is an intuitive gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We're not working with either or. We want to get those two working together, and when we're in the 6 steps of the one command, we're able to do that. And we've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. And my job is to help you remember your gift and how you are able and help you connect in to that higher level of thinking. Here's the other thing he said. Intuition does not come to an unprepared mind. And so we're going to talk about how did we prepare ourselves for that. Okay, so let's keep going. I want to get through this as quickly as possible for you. Okay, so number one, we want to raise the vibration. I helped in that space prepare a physical space, right, where we set this intention. We said we want to have this vibe in the apartment of love and restoration. Okay, we want to have this to be a place where we're nurtured and supported. So in the environment, we started with the physical level. I created a sacred space, and my niece happened to have a place that was right there where she had some stones and a little sage. I said, this is kind of a comfortable spot. I just want to sit here. And then just making this agreement like, yeah, I'm all in. Whatever is before me, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, right? And then aligning to invisible support. I'm going to show you how I did that in a second. Then we tune into the energy. Like, what is the feeling in this place? Well, there'd been a lot of sickness, a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, all of this. And they really needed a higher level of energy to work with so that energy could support what they needed, support them in taking the next action steps, the energy to support their emotions, right? So that they could get the healing they needed after dealing with a 8-year-long illness. Okay. And then setting the intention. What do we want here? What kind of place is this? And this is where something like feng shui is very powerful because they have that ability to do that. But when I tune into different rooms and different things, I will find, especially when I'm clearing spaces, like, hey, what is it you do here? What do you want to happen here? What are the outcomes, right? What do you want this place to be for you? And then we just kept aligning to love, light and love. I really believe in letting light and love do the work. And then we tuned into the emotions. And I brought it to the place to choose, because very often when you feel down and you don't have the energy, the first thing you tell yourself is, I don't have any choice. I don't even know what to do. I can't do this because of that, because of that, because of that. And you have to come to that first decision. It's like, you know what? I'm going to choose a better outcome. I'm going to give myself the power of choice right here. And a little mind hack with that is, whatever situation you find yourself in, say, you know what? Everything I've chosen up to now has brought me to right here. Everything. Okay. Everything I do next is going to do one of two things. It's either going to I'm either going to make choices that take me to a better destination. I'm going to make choices that keep me stuck right here, or I'm going to make me another choice that could take me to a worse place. Right. But get yourself, please understand that there's this choice is always before you. But when you become conscious of it and you go, you know what, I'm going to make the choice right now. And all of my choices from now on are going to flow from this decision that everything I do from now on is to take me to this particular destination I want. You probably want to improve. Some people are like, please just, if we could just maintain the status quo and nothing else happen, I'll be okay. That's pretty limited. That's a very limited. And you think about how much you have to delete and destroy and ignore and deny yourself in order to just stay at the status quo, because we are designed to grow and thrive and prosper. Okay. So you got to get yourself into that space of choosing to choose, and then created this flow to empowerment. Okay. So these are the core steps. Woo, so much. So I want to share with you that one of the tools I work with for my own personal growth and that I used in the session is working with a pendulum. And this is very powerful because this is a way that I'm just setting up a conversation with my own unconscious mind. When I work with people, I say, all the parts of me are having a conversation with all the parts of you, but I'm also just opening myself up to getting new input and support. Look at this. Look how excited it's getting. I'm not even moving around. And usually when I work with a pendulum, I'm getting yes and no's, and then it turns into a conversation. Look at that. I said no. Did you see that? Okay. And then I'll say, well, show me a nice, clear yes. Right. And then I'll use the pendulum, and it's like, hey, pendulum, and I just talk to it. I'll just go, hey, pendulum, I want to have a conversation about the best solution to get money for Sandy. Can you help me with that? And it might go, okay, all right. So I'm not forming the right question. And so this gives me a new feedback loop where I'm going, okay, this helps me formulate different questions. Now you could do that with, a mind mapping tool. You could play what if games, but for me, this is a very quick, short way of doing it. And as I'm doing this, I'm already saying that I want to tune into my intuition. Okay. And so I'll do that. And as I'm doing that, very often helpers, angels, guides will show up. And I'm of two minds of this. I believe both can exist at the same time. One, I think that it's a representation of my own unconscious mind speaking to me in a way that I can understand the symbolism and get the information. But the other is that why wouldn't that invisible help be available to me? Why wouldn't it be there? My sister and I, we talk to relatives, and when I need help from my dad, I have a particular issue. I go, hey, Dad, I need help with this. Thank you for that. And I love that because not that I'm ordering him around, but that helps me remember that I've been supported in the past, I'm supported now, and I can project in the future, right? And I can remember that good feeling of that feeling of my dad's loving shelter and support, and that helps me to create it. So this could, if it's no more than just a mental exercise, it's still very valuable, okay? And in the process, I've already set a really clear intention of what are the parameters, I have a very, very deep background in working intuitively and in setting those protections and the boundaries and how am I going to get information, and I take responsibility that it's not a guide who's telling me what to do. I'm the one in authority. I'm the one who has to make the decision. I'm the one who has the responsibility and the accountability for my choices. Okay. And where people get into trouble is they get into that, my guide told me to do this, the angel said that, and the next thing you know, they're led on this crazy goose chase because they are then feeding this fearful control part of their mind. So this is not anything you necessarily want to do without some instruction or even having some guidance. And I've been working with people on doing this for over 30 years. Okay. So I just wanted to just explain that a little bit. And so we sat down, we did the pendulum, and I want to explain too that there's two types of visualization. And as I said at the start of this, pardon me, I have to say thanks to Pixabay and Adobe Stock for these gorgeous pictures. But there's two types of visualization. Now, the first, you need to understand that if you can't picture yourself doing something, right? If you just cannot see yourself doing it, you're not going to do this. This is a famous quote. I'll go ahead and read it for those listening to the audio version. You can't do anything that you can't picture yourself doing. Once you make the picturing process conscious and deliberate, you begin to create the self you want to be. And I don't have a source for that, so I stated anonymous. And the first type of visualization is your desire. Oh, and that's where we go into, hey, what is the life you want? What is that outcome, right? And so we're focusing on the goal or the outcome itself. And this is a feminine energy. And so the key to this is focus on the outcome you want, not the symptoms you're experiencing. And what that means is to not you go, oh my God, I'm broke. I don't have any money. How do I get money? I want to get money. It's like, okay, yeah, um, I want to have more than enough money to pay the bills. Oh, I want to know that I just want to know the bills are paid. Okay, the bills are paid. So what is the outcome? I want the bills paid. But very often we're so tied up in that fear. Remember, I said we start jumping and doing stuff because we're trying to get away from that feeling. And then when we start trying to take action, then all that repressed emotion comes up and things kind of start following out. So if we are fighting the symptoms and we're fighting what like, oh my God, there's no money and people are arguing, or I'm stressed out, or I'm not sleeping, that's not what you want to focus on, because the more you focus on symptoms and what's not working, that's what you're going to get. So you want to focus on the outcome that you want and that you desire. And so that's why I created the dream portal over the bed. Okay. And what I'm doing in that, when I'm setting the energy and I'm raising the vibration in the place. I'm brought in love and light. And we're like, this is what we want this place to be. And then in my mind's eye, if I see any dark energy or anything there, then I go ahead and clear it out. Okay. Then I set over the bed a dream portal. And the reason that this is important is that at night, before you go to sleep, your brain waves are already starting to lower. Your conscious vibration is starting to rise. Your unconscious mind's opening. And if you're laying there worrying and stressing, or you're just, on TikTok or Instagram or whatever you're on all night long, I had to start turning my phone off at 9 o'clock because I've been studying TikTok. I've been staying awake till 2 a.m. watching this thing. But then it was disturbing my sleep. So at night, what you've got to do is, and first I want to say, whatever you think about at night before you go to sleep is what's manifested the next day. So be intentional. So the reason for the dream portal, now let me get back to this. The reason for the dream portal is so that you can intentionally use that space and that time. Okay, so I have a process where I take people through, if you've been part of the 1111 Club, or you're in the TOC Money Mindset Mastery group, or in our Commanding Wealth group, where I've taught people how to set their intention for the day. What do you want to feel at the end of the day? What are the outcomes? What are the action steps? Then at night, we are going through, what happened today? What am I grateful for? Oh, I love that happened. Oh, I appreciate that. And then in this dream portal, you might go, I've got to come up with a solution for this. So I'm going to let my unconscious mind work on this. And you send it up through the portal. Then the other thing is, you want to spend time picturing the kind of life that you want, your dreams, your desires, in all the different ways, even if it seems unrealistic. Because what you're doing is you're creating a really deep belief in the person you want to become. And there's a lot of information, like this is Monte Carlo. Oh, yes. Well, I might want to go to Monte Carlo, but I wouldn't want to go during cons, right? I want to go if I can have that James Bond at the casino experience, right? But I don't really dream about living there. Okay. But hey, I want to go dream and picture, visualize, imagine that I'm having that kind of experience. So it's really important. And then at night, as those dreams are happening, you're opening this space for your greater intelligence to communicate and download and kind of inform, maybe through your dreams. Okay. And then in the morning, you may have a solution, but you could just set an intention at night. It's like, when I wake up in the morning, I'll know what to do. But right now, I'm just going to let myself dream and connecting into your heart's desire. Okay. And in that way, this allows you to rest. That allows those deeper unused parts of your brain to start to go to work and let your regular conscious mind go to rest, because it can trust that some part of you is on the job, but this active, awake part of you no longer needs to be part of the job. And then you can let your body power down and get the physical restoration that you need, okay, to have the energy to take the action steps. Okay, so next in visualization is intention. And we did an 11-day intention challenge. And this is where we're focusing on the movement or the action. But it's like, hey, what do I want to have, be, or do is the result, right? What do I want to have, be, or do? And these are the specific actions. It's very masculine. And this is really our daytime energy. And this is where you are more of in that kind of like, hey, this is what I want. This is the outcome. And then we command, I want this. Well, if I did that, what would that look like? And you're starting to get some different information. What starts to arrive is first you're getting the picture of, you're able to kind of go up into this big picture mode and go around to different parts and get the information. You're able to analyze it. You kind of move yourself around, and interestingly, you're detached, you're observing, but you're not emotionally disconnected, because your emotions and your curiosity are serving you. Okay, it's giving a little signal. If you go, oh, I'm pushing, I'm stressing, I'm in the wrong direction. Now let me get over to where I'm moving and I'm able to just stay in this neutral spot. Your emotions become a feedback mechanism. Okay, it becomes a tool to serve you. Isn't that cool? Then you start saying, what are the results that it look like, and what are the actual steps? So this is where you would start saying, this is what I want. And then you can start witness those results and outcomes arriving in many ways and from many directions. But you're operating in authority. Okay, hey, this is what I want. You're getting the information. There's the action steps. And now I'm going to see it. But then you're always going back to the vision and you're getting information. And so you're creating this greater feedback loop to the future, not the past. In the future, you're creating a positive, empowering feedback loop that's giving you information about what's possible and what the action steps are, and who do you need to talk to, and what are some key things that you need to adjust? What do you need to really deal with? And because you're in this more neutral mode, there's no judgment, right? You could say, okay, I've got to get a better wardrobe. Okay, I've got to get some skills. If I can't get them myself, how do I find the people that have the skills? You're very much in that observing, and you're staying focused on what you want. Okay. And you're allowing the results to arrive from any direction, even though you're taking action in one particular way. It's amazing that it's like, if you're focusing on money, and we tend to think about money coming from a future way, but very often when people get in this mode and they start taking the action, money starts arriving from many different sources, including the past. And they're always delighted because they are open to whatever it takes to get the results they desire. When we're in that fearful negative loop, we get locked in on what has to happen or else. Okay. So the key to this is we want to tune into both of these states. What unifies this is we want to think about what state of being do you want to manifest your command from, or what state of being do you want to receive the fulfillment of your command or your stated desire? Okay. What is the state of being? I have told the story, you've probably heard this, but one morning, within 2 hours, I manifested $1,000 like out of the blue. by making a decision about the way they want to feel it. How do I want it to come? Now, I happen to love miracle stories and last minute things and coinky dinky things, right? But maybe you want to be in a state of flow. You want to be in a state of ease. You want to be in a state of gratitude or appreciation. What state of being do you want to be in? And then as you do that, the solution starts arriving to that. It doesn't matter if you're doing that at night in the dream phase or in the daytime when you're in your command and manifesting state. And this is the beginning of anything that you want. It is this tuning into this state of being. But then once you've done all of this, and you've done the steps, you've dreamed, you've set the energy, you've commanded, the next thing to do is you focus on what you can do now. What is in your power to do? Now, if you are in a low energy, low health, low vibration, and there's a lot of times that you don't have the energy to do much of anything, the very least you should be doing is visualizing what you want. My second tip, as someone who has gone through and horrible, I mean, we're talking about several years of dealing with anxiety, depression, and one health issue after another. I had something going on with my throat, my thyroid, and then lately I've realized, I've got to make some adjustments to my gut health because something happened. I was on the wrong medication, and it was causing this intense anxiety. Like I go, I think I'll send an email. Do you think in 30 years I've sent out a couple of emails? Well, heck yeah, I can. Thousands of emails. I know exactly how to do this. And anxiety would just click in, or there'd be a loud slam in the other part of the house, and it'd trigger me, and I would be locked down. And I've sometimes lost days. But very often what I found to help me through that was to do something that was not focusing on me or my situation. So what I would do is I would do some small thing in my business where I was reaching out to my customers like, hey, how are you doing? I was thinking about you. I might offer a 2-hour class. I might offer a 15-minute session, whatever it was, right? Whatever I had the energy to do, I would do. And if I could only do one thing that day, I would make sure it was something that would take me closer to the goal that aligned to that decision. And believe me, sometimes it was a very small thing. But if you only spent 15 minutes a day on the thing, working on the thing that you desire, you're going to get there a lot faster than the people who want to get there as soon as this piece of, this bunch of crap that's happening is over. Okay. What you're doing today is going to get you there a lot faster than the stuff people are not doing and they're putting off and making excuses for. Okay. So whatever you're able to do, the capacity you're able to do it with your whole heart. Okay. So just focus on what you can do now, not what might happen or what could be. And it would be really tempting to go, I want to go into that big dream and I want to do all this wonderful stuff, but really, because that is not matching where you are, it's such a mismatch. It winds up being a fantasy and you get overwhelmed with all of that. So when you bring it back to what you're able to do now, that would get you even an inch closer, you're going to get there a whole lot faster. Okay. So just focus on what you can do now. Okay. Now, very important. Really believe in the 6 steps of the one command, this process that Asara Lovejoy developed in the book by the one name, and all the healing modalities that I've worked with in the last 30 years. I've never seen anything like the one command that allows you to stop your negative thinking and programming and align to what it is that you truly desire, to draw in the energy of where you are, to draw into that invisible support, to go up into that theta brainwave, and then using the incredible one command statement that is, I'll say it for you, is I don't know how, I only know it's so now, and I am fulfilled, but there is magic in that statement. Then to the 6 steps, and we continue to expand out to an idea even greater that serves more good in its fulfillment. Okay, and so we need to just keep allowing our mind to work on this, and then we create this space to receive, and it's an active step. So just a moment here. All right, so pardon me. And so going through there, okay, so this is the one command statement. And so right now I want to just invite you to think about what it is that you desire, and we're just going to use the statement and just notice what happens. Okay, think about what you want. Think about all the considerations, all the worries, everything that's stopping you from doing what you want, need, or desire. Okay, so now just say it out loud. Okay, follow along. I don't know how and then state what you want. So maybe you need your bills paid. Maybe you want to have a healthier body. Maybe you need a solution to arrive. Maybe you need help. Maybe you're ready for that true love, that highest and best relationship to arrive in your life. So I don't know how and you would state what you want. In the positive, I only know it's so now, or I do now, and I am fulfilled. Ooh, what happened when you made that statement? Ooh, a lot of people, we'll take them through, we won't even know what they want, and they feel a shift. This shifts your mind just in how you're thinking. When you couple this with going into this greater expanded state of being, and you have this more powerful intention, and you've prepared your mind for the outcome to arrive, then everything starts aligning to you. And the other stuff's just to help give you that space and that support in order to make it happen. It's to prepare you. Okay. Very often our lives are so busy and we're so organized and we're so entrenched in our habits. We have to do things to break our habits. And that's why we do things like maybe sage, or we, bust out the crystal, or we're using our power of visualization to imagine different possibilities, to open up a way to have a different conversation. And then when we add that one command process, boom. Now, one command does stand on its own, but sometimes we just need that little extra help. Sometimes we don't see what's right in front of us because of the fear, or we just haven't trained ourselves to think about it. It's just a skill set. Okay. We're all learning. I get called on my stuff all the time, but I've really had the pleasure of doing this work for over 30 years. And I think at this point I've done something like over 15,000 sessions with people. And I'm just delighted that every day is a new day and I get to learn even more. And I've had the pleasure of, just being that help and support to other people. And that's what I want to offer to you. And I just want to mention this to you right quick, that a lot of people were very interested in how I'm doing this. This is a whole class. This is actually a master class that I could teach. But first, I want to replicate these results. And so I'm offering a very special 90-minute sacred healing and manifesting session where I take you through a lot of the steps and sometimes more of what I went through with Sandy and her daughter Devin to help her manifest that $150,000 and to get a jump start on her healing and starting her new life. And if you want to book that session, I do have that session available. I'll put the link in the description bar. And then that way you can just click onto it, or you can message me and I'll send you the link directly. Okay. And so what we do in this, I just want to describe very quickly. In this 90-minute sacred circle healing and manifesting session, I have people send me a little drawing of where they're living. I do energy clearing on the house. I help them set new personal boundaries within themselves, emotional boundaries. I had a client I worked with the other day. It's like, hey, got some people that keep having you do the work, but they're not paying you on time. let's get those resources in so that we can set some new boundaries and parameters to operate from. I'm kind of, supporting that operating system. In your home, I will create that dream and manifestation portal, and I teach you how to use it. I help you set a clear intention, and along the way, we're clearing limiting beliefs and programs. I teach you those two processes of how to use gratitude in a really powerful and empowering way, and how to use that fully and freely forgiveness prayer. Then I help you connect to your invisible support and guidance to get information, but also how to have a conversation with that part, how to access that part of your own subconscious. Okay. And to continue to kind of tap into your own intuition. I really think that, as I mentioned before, I think a lot of times it's a persona of myself that I can tap into so that I can have a different level of conversation. Okay. And then just provide guidance and manifesting the right outcomes and so much more. And this is a very low price. I'm not going to state it on this recording, but I will say that I have charged much more, much more for this process. Okay. So it's that 90-minute sacred healing and manifesting session, clearing that energy, setting the boundaries, creating the dream and manifestation portal, setting that clear intention, clear limiting beliefs and programs, connect to your invisible support, and just give you that help and guidance that you need. Was this helpful? I hope it was. And I'm going to be teaching some more things on this. And so the best way to do this, if you're to make sure that you don't miss any of these presentations, make sure that you do one of two things. Either join the Facebook group, our TOC Money Mindset Mastery group. I have the link in the description. Or you can just hit to subscribe on the YouTube channel where this is also hosted. Okay. And I just want to say thank you so much. And to be sure and check out our weekly group. And that means every Tuesday, it's a free circle. So powerful. We're having so many incredible testimonials pop up out of that. And if you want to work with me directly, you can email me at Catherine@catherineperry.net. Okay. And go ahead and check out Catherine@catherineperry.net. And that is my personal site. So, my friend, until next time, this is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I witness your mastery. Bye-bye, everybody.